Tonight, another astonishingly bold step toward authoritarian censorship as we see nearly 20 subreddits, including the Great Awakening, removed from Reddit overnight. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every episode starts the same way. I say thank you to everybody who has hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done that, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, and make sure you hit the bell for notifications to be notified when these videos get posted. So here you go, guys. Kind of a sad day, really. Well, to explain this, we're going to have to talk about what we're going to talk about here with Q. So first, we're going to cover stuff today like FISA. We're going to cover stuff like what happened to the Great Awakening and other subreddits over at reddit.com that have been basically wiped out of existence overnight. And we're going to talk about some other interesting things that are going on with this whole QAnon thing. But we're going to talk about Google and what's coming out about them, and how Q's kind of pointing us to look at that. And yeah, guys, it's looking pretty dire at this point. But, you know, we have God, and that is what's most important in anything, as long as we look to God. If you guys want to get caught up on the last few Q posts, I encourage you to come back here, watch this last video, watch these last few videos. They're going to catch you up to where we're at. Also, right here, this is a great video. It explains kind of what QAnon, the Great Awakening are. It explains to you how to go and find the information, how to get involved with the research, the etiquette involved, all that kind of stuff. If you guys want to watch this, I really encourage you to watch it for yourself if you want to get informed on that, and then also share it. You know, get this out there, share it with your friends, family, those that you want to bring in the loop on what's going on here. But we're going to start with this Q post, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. So we're just going to dive right into it right here. Here's the first one. Now, of course, this is Q speaking metaphorically here, I think, when he makes these references, but it's saying, how do you inflict max pain damage? Drop daily carpet bombs, rats running. Drop release Moab, which would be mother of all bombs, I guess. It says it gives a Sarah A. Carter article, and this article explains everything. I can't stress to you how much this ties everything together in a neat little bow and presents it for you, the reader, to basically connect all these dots. How it started, basically what this article does is it lays out the sequence of events starting from when President Trump was elected, or going into the election through the campaign, and then to what has happened in the last year with President Trump, and how at first it was the whole offensive maneuvers being made by these individuals who are leakers, and the people who are the anonymous sources and all this different stuff, the people who are literally leaking classified information. It seemed like at one point it was almost on a daily basis where we would see a story pop up in the news where some journal, whether it would be at the Washington Post or at the New York Times or other media organizations, would get some piece of confidential information that made the president look bad, made the office of the president look bad, and really, I mean, in my opinion, it was seeking to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's administration. Now, why would they be doing that? Well, quite simply put, this article doesn't give you a whole lot of why, it just gives you a whole lot of how and who's been involved. The real question of why really lies with those who did it. We have a lot of speculation as to why they did it, but at the same time, just looking at the fact patterns emerging that have been outlined in this article, and I will definitely leave a link to this in the description so you guys can come read it for yourself. But it talks about so many different aspects of what happened, how it all started, what happened with Alexander Downer, the Australian diplomat, and Christopher Steele, and the Steele dossier, and Peter Strzok's involvement, and Bruce Orr's involvement with Nellie Orr and Fusion GPS. How is Glenn Simpson involved with all of this? There's so many questions that need to be answered, but then it goes into many other topics too that are quite important as well. It talks about George Papadopoulos and how he was dragged into this, how Carter Page came to be considered a Russian asset by the intelligence community, how that was used to basically spy on the president's campaign. I mean, when I say spy, I know it's a strong word, but they were literally conducting surveillance in an umbrella fashion that would pick up everything that President Trump's campaign was saying. How it all connects back to individuals in high-ranking positions in both the FBI, the DOJ, and the Hussein administration. Because when you look at this, you have the texts coming out that are saying Peter Strzok is talking about a media leak strategy. Now, of course, Peter Strzok has denied those allegations. His lawyers said it was aimed at preventing leaks, but that doesn't change the fact that he wrote to Lisa Page a little bit later, and it says right here, he was congratulating her basically on the fact that they were having these stories come out and about Carter Page and about all of that stuff. And then it talks about things like Stephen Halper. It talks about things like how they basically manufactured their own echo chamber to help reinforce the narrative that they were trying to draw about President Trump, right? About this whole Russia collusion hoax, in my opinion, that was turned into an investigation with Robert Mueller. How it was so important for them to get rid of Rod Rosenstein. How it was so important for them, to get rid of Jeff Sessions and to make Rod Rosenstein the head of the special counsel as far as being in charge of that. Then there were phases to it, how they went after people in congressional oversight committees who were questioning the reporting that was going on. So then the reporters would turn on the congressional members because, obviously, what can be gleaned off of the way they were working from that time all the way to now is that they were, exhibiting a high bias against President Trump and his administration at the expense of the American public, and for their own benefit, it would seem, to push forward their own narrative that they wanted to draw. And then they used that narrative in the FISA court with the Christopher Steele dossier and other pieces that were put together, through the Yahoo News, the New York Times, in order to actually, kind of piece together this story, right? This narrative about President Trump being in a bed with Russia, and then, how we have to investigate that, and this whole impeach, resist movement. And it was all bolstering that with these stories that came out where, you have officials leaking information about what Michael Flynn said, why he got in trouble, what others said to the FBI that got them in trouble. And look, there's so much to read here. I'm not going to go through this whole article because it is incredible. But then it also here talks about Natalia Veselnitskaya. Now, why is she important? Because think about that whole story and narrative that they drew about Russia and President Trump, because Donald Trump Jr. went and had a meeting with this Natalia Veselnitskaya. But what it fails to mention is that this Natalia lady, first of all, I believe she was granted an exception to come to the United States by the Obama administration's State Department. But that aside, wouldn't it be more interesting to think about the head of Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, meeting with Natalia the day before and the day after the Trump Tower meeting happened with Donald Jr.? And don't forget, Fusion GPS are the same people who were retained by the Clinton campaign, as well as being in charge of this Steele dossier, as well as being connected to Nellie Orr, Bruce Orr's wife, who was one of the was fourth in charge at the DOJ. So, who was also another source giving information to the FBI about these connections to Russia. And then it talks about Alexander Downer and how, what happened in that conversation that they say he, drank too much and spilled the beans on the fact that they had dirt on Hillary through stolen emails, which they haven't even proven yet that the emails were really stolen, in the sense that their official story is that the Russians hacked it, right? But then it seems quite obvious when you look at a lot of the facts that Seth Rich could have very possibly downloaded those and then given them to WikiLeaks. So guys, and there's so much more in here too. So I'm going to leave this for you guys to read, but it really paints a scary story and it ties everything together. And that's why I think it was worth taking a minute to talk about that. Now it says Sessions and Flynn targeted for immediate removal, recusal. Sessions Senate confirmation vote, Rod Rosenstein Senate confirmation vote, reconcile. If Sessions wasn't a threat, why was he the primary target? Why was it critical to move Rod Rosenstein and the DOJ acting attorney general regarding appointment of Mueller, director of special counsel oversight, or direct special counsel oversight? Authority? If you know what your enemy is planning, how do you prepare strategically? Think today. Left supporting Sessions, left defending Sessions, strategic advantage. And then it gives these articles here. Now, what are these? First, you have this Fox News article that talks about basically the new page text that we talked about. But these are even more new ones that are talking about how people were leaking like mad in the lead up to the Trump Russia probe. And that is a true statement. There were so many leaks. And these two individuals definitely could be the two who are being alleged to have been behind pushing a lot of those people to do that. Because you hear Peter Strzok talk about a media leak strategy. It's not phrased as an anti-leak strategy. It's not phrased as a media or stop media leak strategy. It's just phrased as media leak strategy, and then everyone's leaking like mad. And the reality is, here's a great one. Peter Strzok to Lisa Page saying, "Think our sisters have begun leaking like mad, scorned and worried and political. They're kicking into overdrive." What does that mean? And why does this not warrant investigation when this man and this woman were two of the top officials at the FBI in charge of investigations that dealt with things like the Hillary Clinton server, that dealt with things like this whole Russian collusion narrative that was being drawn up and manufactured, it would seem, by the press? That's the real question. And this, to me, is just another article that's kind of talking about a lot of that stuff. And that's what Q wants us to look at. And then Q gives us these two other Twitter posts from Fox, where it gives us actually Jim Jordan and what he's saying, right? So what's Jim Jordan saying? They're still waiting on these documents they've requested from Rod Rosenstein. Now, what are they looking for? First off, I think there's three things, and they're mentioned in that Sarah Carter article. First, you have the 20 pages from the FISA document, or the FISA Carter page warrant that they want to see. And that's the first. So the 20 redacted documents from the FISA Carter page warrant that actually started a lot of the surveillance that actually dragnetted in President Trump and his campaign. But then even here, look, in the article, it says right here, it says they want the 20 pages of the final renewal of the warrant to spy on Carter Page in June 2017. They want records of the FBI's 12 interviews with Bruce Ohr and exculpatory material related to the warrant on Page. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, they want this information, and anti-Trump officials continue to dig in. So this, and just reading the end of this paragraph here, it says preemptively leaking information about CIA and FBI Russia related operations that appears to combine classified intelligence with some degree of fiction intended to obscure wrongdoings. So they want to get the answers to these questions as to why this information is being withheld. Furthermore, why they're mixing in this Russia related operational stuff so they can market with the classified, secret, can't read this. But when in reality, it would probably expose the fact that not only did they have no real solid evidence to base this whole investigation off of, but they went about it in such a terrible way. They didn't tell the president that he had possibly had Russians, around him in his sphere trying to spy on him or collude with him. They didn't warn him about that. But of course, if Dianne Feinstein, if she has some guy who's been a staffer for her forever, 20 years or something, and he turns out to be a Chinese spy, and they just go, oh, well, we had to warn her, and they came and told her and said, it's okay, you have to get rid of this guy, he's not good. But they won't go tell the guy who may be the leader of the free world that there may be Russians inside of his campaign trying to basically subvert and to, covertly undermine it. So that to me is deplorable. And then it says, with panic comes mistakes. With panic comes betrayal. With panic comes testimony. With panic comes, and then it gives these dots. It says, these people are stupid. FISA goes both ways, plus hooah, Q. Okay, so a lot here. To me, there is a lot of information here, and we're not going to go through it all because I kind of went through a lot of it, but you guys get what this is saying. Basically, it's kind of laying out here that you have Flynn was targeted and removed. You had Sessions removed because they didn't need, they wanted Rod Rosenstein to be in charge of the special counsel because otherwise it'd be impossible to get away with a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do. And it says that we knew basically that they had a good idea of this, and that this is why you see today the whole dynamic that's been shifted and set up for everybody to be like, oh yeah, we love, it's so great to turn on CNN and hear them, and I don't turn on CNN really ever, but to see clips, online and stuff where they're defending Jeff Sessions and saying, how President Trump is really being a mean man when he talks to them. And That's what that is. So I'll let you guys put a lot of that together. I'm gonna link this article. And if you guys want to get an article that tells you like almost the whole thing from A to Z, I really encourage you to read the Sarah Card article. It's a great read and it ties everything together. So here we go. The next one is what we were going to talk about. Man, the Great Awakening, and I think 17 and or it was Great Awakening. Two of the Reddit subreddits called Great Awakening. There was one that was the underscore Great Awakening, and then the Great Awakening. Those were basically banned today, as well as others. 17 others, I believe, one article was pointing out. And this is it. These are the stories. You know, Reddit's QAnon pan points to how it's tracking toxic communities. Like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what's toxic for me on this is, you know, we're asking questions, we're doing investigatory research, we're peaceful, we're nonviolent. At least I know that's how I represent myself and everything I do. We have no intention of doing anything other than following the truth and supporting the president and you know, other individuals, supporting our military. What's wrong with that? I don't understand. But they want to paint us out as these deranged lunatics. You know, Pizzagate on bath salts. That's my favorite one that they've ever called us. I read it. It was actually a title of an article. They called people who follow QAnon, or QAnon itself, Pizzagate on bath salts, which I just, to this day, I don't even know how to respond to that. But here you go. It's saying Reddit bans QAnon subreddit that featured pro-Trump conspiracy theories. And they said it was taken down for content policy violations. Now, you know, it's tough because when you get that many people, I think they had around 70,000 people on that subreddit alone. And poof, just like that, it's gone. Never to be seen again. And they've been basically put into, as it's almost incredible. Matt Drudge said this a long time ago where he talked about there would be internet gulags where you basically just get banished into non-existence. And this is even going past the gulag into the termination phase of it, where they just delete you right off the internet. You were there yesterday and now you're gone today. And that to me is worrisome, but you know, I put my faith in God, and what we're doing here is very important. So we have to continue no matter what. And yeah, this is just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm sure that we'll see other things pop up, but it is just disturbing. And Q says content violations, stay strong, stay together. Censorship will fail. Those they attack the most are the biggest threat. Expect Twitter, Facebook force next. Alex Jones' template was designed to attack, censor QAnon. Primary objective Q. And that makes perfect sense to me. It was what I've been talking about for a very long time now. It's never that I've had anything against Alex Jones, because yes, he's an American citizen. He has every right to speak. He has every right to do his newscast, whatever. But it looked to me, the more I watched him, that, you know, he was just going head first into this, and the repercussions of his actions on others would be what have come to be today, right? And that's not to say that, you know, there's probably a lot more of this that's going on beneath the surface that I can't see. But I can tell you from the outside looking in, a person like myself, this never looked good from the beginning, especially when it started to get worse and worse and worse. And, you know, his personality doesn't represent the majority of people who do this research, in my opinion. The majority of people who do this research and enjoy this content and do this work, I've talked to you. I know who you guys are. You are moderate. You are, you know, a lot of independents, a lot of conservatives, some Democrats, just a lot of people who want to see justice administered equally. And I think a lot of this all stemmed from going all the way back to the WikiLeaks and what we saw in those emails and what we saw with the Clinton Foundation and Haiti and Uranium One and all of the lopsided administrations of, or the lopsided distribution of justice in our country, where you had so many people, and just because they were politically connected, who, you know, just sweep it under the rug, pretend like it never happened, move on, nothing to see here. And that's what we're doing every day. We're asking the questions, we're doing the research, we're doing the investigatory work, and what are they doing to us? They're putting every roadblock they can in our way because they're terrified of the fact, like I've said before, a platform like this can reach hundreds of thousands, millions of people. A platform like the show you're watching reaches millions of people. It to them, I believe, it's terrifying, and that is what is the biggest reason for the way that they have decided to come after these communities, these individuals, and to try to target them, to get them to basically shut up, because they don't want to hear us have a discussion. They don't want us to have an opinion. They don't want us to be able to, calmly ask questions about this or that. They want to tell us what to think. They want to force feed us their corporate news that they've invested millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars into creating an infrastructure for, that can be easily replicated by a guy with a computer and a microphone. I mean, and that is, I think, what is terrifying to them. So here we go. That's what this is all getting at. And I know I'm getting a little ranty today, but this is just one of those episodes where you're going to have to bear with me. So this is the next one here. It's this Twitter post, and this is from... Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I went over this the other Jim Jordan tweet. Let's do this one real quick. It's talking about Jim Jordan again, saying they're sending a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, alleging that stroke page texts reveal a media leak strategy. And that's not even really new news, but that is what Q's pointing us to. So the next one here is this tweet, which talks about another executive, the 60 Minutes honcho, it's called. They call him here. Jeff Fager, he's out. He basically has stepped down or resigned or whatever. And that seems to be because, or they say he claimed it's not directly related to the sexual misconduct allegations, but Q's been telling us to look for these kind of things for quite a while. So nothing to see here, right? Just the dominoes falling. So that's that. And the next one here is takes you over here to an important page. So if you guys go to 8chan.net/PatriotsFight, it's where Q's telling us to look for a lot of the new basically drops that are going to be continuing no matter what. Because Q's, I think, pointing us to the fact that, a lot of places that are covering this information are not going to last. I mean, I pray that I can keep bringing you guys this information as long as it's humanly possible. And I trust that you guys will, help me to stay on point. And I'll do everything I can to do this. But Q's telling us main points of interest only. It says it will serve as the main hub of all communications once all other sites tracking collapse. 8chan only. What part of another wave of attacks coming yesterday wasn't understood? This is not a game, Q. And this is obviously referring to the Great Awakening, but more overly, it's referring directly to this person, the Anon, who asks, basically, why does Q delete posts off of Patriots Fight, the board over on 8chan? And Q says their main points of interest. So, look, this is going to be very important. This is why Q's been telling us to archive all this information. And that's why, I do this every day, and I cover the content every day and bring it to you every day live. Because the reality is, we just have to get this information out there. And all you have to do is get logical minds to start asking questions and to start researching and doing their own investigations, which is the whole point of this, is for you not to trust me, but to basically take the information that we talk about here and then go do your own research, and then you spread that information out to your friends and family and your communities and your networks, and that's how it begins, right? And Q tells us, there was another wave of attacks that was warned to us about, and now today. They just pull all the QAnon research boards off Reddit. So it's one of those things where it's almost tantamount to the modern day book burning, where you're just trying to delete information from history because it's not convenient to your agenda or your narrative that you're trying to portray. And when I say you, I'm talking about these large corporations who feel that they can control that information. And don't forget, knowledge is power. And controlling that information is a source of power for them. So then here are two posts that are interesting. First one, I'm not going to show you these, but I'll tell you what they say. Basically, this one is talking about how bringing 70,000 people from the Great Awakening into a board like, let's say, the 8chan boards is not going to work, and that they're going to need more boards to basically to handle the traffic that could be generated through this. And Q actually, I think, makes a correction and says it's 297,000. So they may have had 70,000 subscribers, but you may have had over 297,000 people looking at this content on a daily basis. That's the way I read it. If you guys have another take on that, let me know what you think. And then the next one here is just talking about how Q told us there would be no private comms outside of this board, and that anybody who says that they've had communication with this board is basically lying. And and the Anon said it was basically becoming quite literal what Q had said. And Q responds by saying military planning at its finest. So don't forget, guys, not only is this allegedly President Trump in this Q Anon collective, I guess you would call it, but then there's also the fact that you have military intelligence. You have other officials close to the president actually involved in this information. So allegedly, because we don't know for sure. But look, the fact is that whatever this is, it's giving us a lot of good leads. It's pointing us into a lot of great directions to do our own investigatory work and to look into things on our own. As I said, guys, be sure to check out the website in the next few days, because I'm actually having a source contact me tomorrow about an incredible story that I'm going to break on justinformednews.com. So if you guys want that, you guys will have more information on it as we go. But yeah, it sounds like it could be a really big story, and I don't know how, but God's blessed me to be able to get that kind of scoop, and I hope I can bring it to you guys, and that you guys will enjoy that information and share it and do your own investigatory research based off of it. But here's the next one. It's saying President Trump's tweet from September 5th, where he says, "I'm draining the swamp and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win." Amen. We can only hope. Yeah, so, I mean, this one's self-explanatory. I don't even need to tell you much besides that's what we're encountering as we speak, it would seem. But it says, here's the next one. This is the last Q post for now. It says, how do you demonstrate reasonable cause to regulate and we've already read this one, so I'm gonna reread it, but just keep in mind that this is a type of a repost. We've gone through this exact post before, but I think it's a repost with a few different articles and twists that we need to look at. So it says, how do you demonstrate reasonable cause to regulate and or break up big tech? What is the common theme tactic of the left? Define fascism, forcible suppression of opposition. Define censorship, the institution, system, or practice of censoring. Define narrative, a way of presenting or understanding a situation or series of events that reflects and promotes a particular point of view or set of values. Define projection, the attribution of one's own ideas, feelings, or attitudes to other people or to objects, especially the externalization of blame, guilt, or responsibility as a defense against anxiety. The forming of a plan, scheming. Define psychological projection, a theory in psychology in which the human ego defends itself against unconscious impulses or qualities, both positive and negative, by denying their existence in themselves while attributing them to others. Define narcissist, a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Narcissists who think the world revolves around them. Narcissists preening themselves in front of the mirror. Define dogma, a point of view or tenet put forth as authoritative without adequate grounds. Define aggression, forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests. Define suppression, the action of suppressing something such as an activity or publication. Bonus round, narcissists are renowned for using psychological projection to blame other people even when it is entirely apparent that they are the ones in the wrong. Q says, define realism, the quality or fact of representing a person, thing, or situation accurately or in a way that is true to life. Realism, actions of Antifa, aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative dogma. Actions of fake news, aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative dogma. Actions of Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Reddit, etc. Aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative dogma, and then it says bombs away, and it gives these two articles. Now, what are these two articles? Well, first, there's this Bloomberg article, which talks about sessions open to a probe of social media giants. Okay, that's interesting. Now, why would we be probing social media giants? That's the question I guess we should ask, right? And then here's a Fox article where it talks about, hey Google, Facebook, Twitter, Trump's got a point. You need to do a better job of self-regulating. Okay, these are fair fair critiques. And then it says massive fake news attention for a conspiracy Reddit board being banned. Why are we being targeted by some of the largest media organizations on the planet? And it gives this sample here where you have, I don't know, I'd say, at least 8 different articles, and they all basically say the same thing. They're all Reddit's QAnon ban and points to tracking toxic communities. New York Post, Reddit bans QAnon conspiracy theory forums. Here's Reddit bans QAnon subreddits after a series of violent threats. And then Reddit bans QAnon subreddits after violent threats. Same story basically repicked up. And Breaking 911, NBC News reporting that the subreddit has been banned. So, and there are many more articles and examples that Q gives us here. They're all basically the same story, but you would have to think to yourself, how is every media organization, these huge conglomerate media organizations, they're all picking up this same story? And if it's all fake and it's all LARP, then why are they really worried? And Q gives us a full explanation of why. It's because of yesterday's video. If you guys want to watch that and catch up, I really encourage you guys to come back here and watch this. It's called Panic in DC, and it gives specific examples of how people are basically, testifying against others who are complicit in the alleged crimes. And then who is basically doing that? And it's very interesting to look at. But Q says Panic in DC, which is what the whole thing that Q did yesterday was all about. It says statements start a fire, 12 moves ahead, and then suicide watch Q. So obviously we're going to be looking at, who knows what that means at the end there. But here it says Panic in DC, and it's literally stating that what they've shown in Q post, what Q revealed to us about the fact that Bruce Orr was testifying to basically save his wife's reputation, name, career, whatever, and then that certain people were testifying against other people. We're talking about the highest ranks too, like Lisa Page was testifying against Peter Strzok allegedly, and that all these are things the allegations are basically being put out there by Q, saying, look, this is what Q's saying is happening behind the scenes. But what I wanted to go back to, and you guys can understand what all that is, but what I wanted to go back to was this whole thing about, what's happening with Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube. And a great thing came out today, and who knows if they'll let me show this, how they are about this stuff. I'm sure at some point, whatever, I don't even care, because it's information. This is what we need to know as the American people, is how they're working behind the scenes. This was it was leaked, so now it's public. It's in the public domain. There's nothing. I'm not giving you something that's not out there publicly available for you to see on many different outlet sources. But this was a Breitbart exclusive where they got this video of basically, I guess it's the weekend after the election of President Trump, and there's all these people, Sergey Brin from Google. It's all the Google execs and people involved there, giving their 2 cents about what's happening. And watch the video for yourself. I'll leave a link to this in the description. But watch this video for yourself, because, all I'm going to say is this. It is incredibly obvious that the people at Google have a huge bias against President Trump, and that they did not want him to win. And that's fine. They're all individuals. They're all entitled to have that opinion. I would never want to advocate for them to not have that ability to feel that way and have their own personal opinions. But when you're in charge of the largest corporation in the world, basically, that not only is it the largest corporation in the world, but they're working with the Chinese communists, and they have a stranglehold, as Tucker said the other night on Fox. They have a stranglehold over all information that's in English, right, through their Google, the main smart computer, wherever it is, their machine learning machines. And these people are the ones running this corporation. And look, Google's great. Yeah, you can go on there, you could type anything, you can find anything. But why is it that when I type in, for news, I get like a dozen liberal news outlets and maybe one that's mildly not, but is? Fox News is fine, but ultimately there's only a few people on Fox that I trust or like. And of that, I mean, there's some people I can't stand. Again, Dana Perino, this woman, I don't know how she is like so loved by conservatives out there. It boggles my mind because she's literally she's having John Kerry on, and she's got her whole panel about what they think about the Bob Woodward book and her interview with Bob Woodward, and she's like talking to Karl Rove and and Juan Williams, and you're like, this is not balanced. It's not at all. It's skewed, and every time I watch her, but it's not just her. It's so many others. Shepard Smith, a lot of the people on there, and a lot of the pundits. They're unbearable to listen to. But that being said, let's listen to this one of the executives who gives their statement about what happened. And what's interesting about this clip and why I'm going to share it with you is because I saw this clip and it instantly rang to me that she's talking about Eric Schmidt on the night Hillary Clinton lost to President Trump. She's talking about the fact that the night of the election, she had a friend, she says, who was at the main event area where they were supposed to celebrate Hillary's victory. And of course, I mean, you think about who would her friend be. I mean, somebody that, she's a high-ranking executive in Google, and she's texting her friend who she says is a man, him, and he tells her back that, we've lost, so on and so forth. But she says that he's a friend who is there and who is a big contributor to the campaign. Obviously, it's, in my opinion, she might be referring to Eric Schmidt. And then also, this woman goes almost on the verge of tears. And she talks about how she goes into these different areas where she talks about how, they're racists out there and how it shouldn't, or not even that, like how, discrimination and the disparaging gaps and all this stuff, almost making these kind of veiled insinuations about the president and what he is and who he is. And that's fine for you to have as a personal opinion. But when you're running the largest company in the world that not only do liberals depend on for their information, but conservatives and moderates, we all have to go use Google, and you claim to be this, basically a public square of information. You claim to not be liable for the content that you have on your platform, but then in the same breath you want to moderate and to control what content goes on there. You can't have it both ways. Either you're a publisher of content and you're not an objective third party, or you are literally an objective third party who should allow every form of speech there is without any type of censorship at all. So you cannot have it both ways, but this is what they want, and this is the logic. So let's listen.
So for what it's worth, I've been a very long time Hillary supporter. But as Kent said, the most important thing is I very much respect the outcome of the democratic process, and who any one of us voted for is really not the point, because the values that are held dear at this company transcend politics, because we're going to constantly fight to preserve them.
Again, I'm going to just emphasize, she just said, we're going to constantly fight to preserve them. The ethics that you think, your subjective ethics that you, a person who supported Hillary Clinton. Now, I have every right in the world to disagree with that support, considering the mountain of evidence I've seen that would lead us to believe that there's many instances where she has committed crimes that have not been investigated, that nobody wants to look at, nobody wants to actually examine. And then you're sitting there saying, oh, yeah, well, I'm so devastated. I'm so sorry. I'm not even gonna play this whole thing, because if you guys want to watch this, go watch it on your own. I'll leave the link. It's about an hour long, and then she gets into a point where she's like about to cry, and it's kind of pathetic to watch, to be quite honest. So it's not really worth my time going over every single inch and fraction of this. But just to say that this is what Q's pointing us at, and Q's saying, look at what they do. First, they suppress it. If it's suppression that they use is basically a form of fascism. I mean, fascists, what they would do is they would take the books, try to rewrite history. They try to bully you and aggressively project what they think is right onto you. And then they use their narrative dogma as a form of censorship, to skew the stories, to bias them toward their opinion. Now, That's fine when you're not presenting yourself as this public global your public space and a global platform that doesn't get in the business of publishing content or sense or putting content out there. They're just basically a platform, a public square, if you will, the modern day soapbox. Now, that to me is what we have to look at. That's what we have to be terrified of. And like I said, the most terrifying thing to me is all the research and studies that have been shown that have, basically shown how Google and all of these other mega corporations, Twitter, Facebook, can basically twist and turn elections based on their subjective inputs to the algorithms that handle the information. I.e., just look at the way that your search results come back on Google. I don't even know if they've changed that yet, but as far as I last checked, which is probably like a day ago, it's still the exact same way. Type in anything and you're going to get Washington Post, New York Times, Politico, whatever. All of these left-leaning, liberal corporate news organizations. You're never going to get an article from you're never going to get an article from real people. You're only going to get an article from the corporately sanctioned news that they have deemed is right to present to you. So that's just a terrifying thing to look for in the future. And yeah, that's a great note to leave on, right? So I'm going to sign off. I want to say thank you, but stick around. I got a few things to talk about here real quick. Hold on. First of all, please help out the channel if you can by coming here, and it's the best way to help. And click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. It helps out the channel more than you guys will ever understand. It's like throwing a buck to me, and it's free to you. It costs you nothing, and it helps me out big time, so thank you. Also, watch these videos. Obviously, some of these videos, they get put in this, I don't know how to describe it. It seems like memory holes where, I lose half, if not 3/4 of the normal audience I may get on a video for the simple fact that whatever message is in there is not something that they want to get out, it would seem. But that's just my own speculative thought at this point. I don't really have much proof other than say that I've seen enough examples of how certain videos are able to go certain ways and certain others aren't. And I think it has a lot to do with tags, names, thumbnails, all that stuff. So come watch these videos, share these videos, especially this one. It's a great video to share. So that's really the best way. Also, don't forget to scroll down at the end of this video and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments. Let me know what you think. I can't wait to read through your comments. I can't wait to hear your feedback about everything, all the crazy stuff that's going on. Please leave them down there and let me know what you guys are thinking about all of this, because I really appreciate that insight. Now, another thing that you can do if you want to help out the channel is obviously to come over here and find me on Twitter at Justin_Form. Once you do that, you can get all my articles, get all my videos, get all that content that I put on here regularly. All you gotta do is hit that follow button, and you can follow me over here on Twitter. And it's a great backup source for all the information that's coming. And I'd like to build this following up big so that, we can keep spreading this word far and wide. So the more people come do that, the better. And I appreciate it. Also, like I said, I have a very, very important source who is going to be contacting me tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about an incredible story that I'm going to be breaking here, hopefully, on justinformednews.com. And if you guys can look forward to that, because this kind of information is the stuff that we all need to hear, we all need to know. And it has to do with some very, very interesting news that I'm not going to talk about yet because I have to wait and talk to the source and get a lot of the details. But let's put it this way. It's going to be a very big story if it is as big as the source has played it out to be. And I'm going to wait to hear about all that information. So, again, you guys can come find me on justinformednews.com. Come interact with the website. This is still in beta, still testing. There is no monetization, so this website's purely run for your benefit. So you guys can come over here, get involved with it, leave comments, leave feedback. Let me know what you think. As I said, we're beta testing it, so we need all the feedback and all the people to come there that we can, so that they can tell us what is good, what's bad, and we can keep fixing it to get better. That being said, there are two other ways to help out the channel. I really appreciate it. And they're both, if you guys want to help out, they're to help out financially. So there's two ways. The first way is to come here to Patreon, Patreon.com, search Just Informed Talk. You'll come here to this landing page, Click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation, and all I can tell you is that these monthly donations are what help keep this channel alive, and I'm so thankful to everybody who comes over here and does this, because no matter what happens with everything else, I can depend on you guys to keep this work going 24/7, 365 for you guys, because this is what I do day in, day out, every day, and I do it for you guys, and I do it first and foremost for God. So that is what it is, a great way to help. But if you're not interested in making a monthly donation, I set up this GoFundMe page, and your support goes so far, just a little bit here and there. So if you want to make a one-time donation, or you want to make an anonymous donation, you can come over here to gofundme.com/just-informed. And when you come here, just click this button. You can either make a one-time donation or an anonymous donation. It helps out the channel big time. So thank you so much to everybody who does that. But before we go, we're going to take 1 second to talk about the most important thing, and that's God's grace and how it's greater. Because first of all, I do this because of the grace of God. Everything I have here, the subscribers, this channel, my voice being loud to speak to others, it's all been through God's grace. I put my life to God, and God has given me this great gift, but with it comes a great responsibility. And part of that responsibility is sharing the good word with you guys, sharing that positive message that God has for us. And with all the negative that we deal with when we talk about the Q, that's why this is, to me, the most important part of the episode, where we take a second at the end to remember what's most important. That is our eternal salvation. So let's read this little piece. It's out of Philippians chapter 3, verse 12 and forward. And it's talking about how we can reach forward to God's goal, not our own. And I think this is like a profound message that I have to share with you guys, because I've shared it before, I'm sure, but it doesn't change how important it is. So it says, Philippians chapter 3, verse 12. It says, "Not that I have already reached the goal or am already fully mature, but I make every effort to take hold of it, because I also have been taken hold of by Christ Jesus. Brothers, I do not consider myself to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what is ahead. I pursue as my goal the prize promised by God's heavenly call in Christ Jesus. Therefore, all who are mature should think this way. And if you think differently about anything, God will reveal this to you also. In any case, we should live up to whatever truth we have attained. Join in imitating me, brothers, and observe those who live according to the example you have in us. For I have often told you, and now say again with tears, that many live as enemies of the cross of Christ. Their end is destruction, their God is their stomach, their glory is in their shame. They are focused on earthly things, but our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. He will transform the body of our humble condition into the likeness of his glorious body by the power that enables him to subject everything to himself." And that's a profound message. That's talking about realizing that the goal that you should have for yourself is God's goal that he wants for us. The goal is not earthly things. The goal is not, satisfying your hunger. The goal is satisfying your hunger for eternal salvation, for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to come to you and to speak to you and to listen to your prayers for forgiveness, your prayers for blessings, your prayers for guidance and strength and wisdom. Those are the things that we have to look for. We don't need to live in a world where we focus on what's material and what's around us. We have to live in a world where we focus on God first, and then other things will come along with that. God provides blessings to his people. You don't have to become a destitute beggar on the streets to find that. You can find it in living a life for God and doing everything you can every day, making decisions based off of what you think God would want you to do, and praying for guidance and praying for wisdom, and trusting that your prayers are being answered in these little bits of wisdom that God gives you, and to not just look for God when you're in trouble, and to not just thank God when you've been given a great blessing, but to look to God in everything, so that on that day when you are in trouble, or on that day when you are blessed, you'll know in your heart of hearts that it came from God. It came from your strict devotion to God every day. You never, ever stepped back from that. You never walked it back, and you never allowed yourself to fall into that trap of believing that it was not from God. So that's it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But my name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.